Hi guys, thanks for tuning in. Before we get into this review, I'll just go through a few of the specs on the 650 Twin, so bear with me and then we'll get into the review. So, start off, we've got the 650 Twin, puts out 47 brake horsepower at 7,000 revs, throws out 52 Newton meters of torque. So for the newbies, it's a 6-speed box, fuel injected, weighs in at 210 kilos wet, runs a 13.7 fuel tank, runs 18-inch wheels, front and rear, on Pirelli Phantom tyres with ABS braking system. These bikes have a top speed of approximately 180 kilometres an hour. I've heard that they've had them up to around 170, so they're not far off that top speed mark. You can, at the moment, you can get them in 2 colours. They are available in 6 colours, but here in Australia, 2 have arrived at the moment. There's the Ravishing Red, the one I've got, plus the Orange Crush one. I think the other ones are arriving in the next few months, as far as things go like that, but that's the way it goes. You know, they're a bit of short supply at the moment. And price-wise, they're coming at around 9.8 for the standard colour version. This Ravishing Red's up around the 10 grand mark, and then the chromes will come in a little bit over the, say, 10.2, 10.2.5, something like that. So that'll give you a rough idea what these bikes will cost. So now we'll get on this bike, take it for the test run, and have a bit of a talk about the bike in question. So just bear with me. Hi guys, while we're at it, why not hit the subscribe button for more great videos coming up. There'll be a lot of stuff on Royal Enfield C5, maintenance on C5, ride reports on C5, and other great info. So hit the subscribe button, give it a thumbs up, and enjoy this great video, and we'll move on to it now. And once again, thanks a lot for watching. Until next time, and thanks. First off, I'd like to say the Ravishing Red is very pleasing to the eye. So when you walk up to the bike, you know, it really hits you like in the eye. It's really very attractive. I love the look of those big dual upswept exhaust pipes too, and as they tilt up skywards. In some ways, they remind me of, say, a 750 or 850 Norton Commando. To say that they really poke out from the rear in that old Norton Commando style. Plus that big chunky motor they've got, that gives you an impression that the bike has got a real good sized motor behind it, and it should have a little bit of poke. So that's one good thing. When you come up behind it, looks like for a start you've got a nice set of exhaust pipes behind you, a good chunky motor, and a power plant that you can get out there and have a bit of fun and play with. And after riding the bike for a while, I can assure you it has got a bit of poke behind you, and it has got a bit of go. So all those things what I've just mentioned now really you know, like it does produce the goods. Other thing I like about it is the Monza style petrol cap lid, you know, like that flip top lid. It's more like 70s style until, and it adds to the style of the bike. And when you look on it, I also like how the Speedo and Taco flip side to side, you know, when you hit the key and you turn it on, it flicks over left to right. And I would like to have seen a Kickstarter on the bike. I reckon that would have been a nice addition to start with, but you know, everything's done for a budget, and I suppose like after riding many C5s over the past years and that, you know, you're just used to seeing the Kickstarter, although I never use a Kickstarter much. It's just looks the part on the bike, and I think if they would have thrown a Kickstarter on one of these, that would have been really, that would have been the icing on the cake, in other words. The pattern seat in the first place, I don't know, in photos and that, it didn't really appeal to me much, and on a few promo shots and stuff like that, I'd look at the pattern seat and I thought, oh, geez, no, this doesn't really appeal to me, but I got no choice. And I even asked, was that the only option seat available, and they said that is the seat. But once I got the bike and had a good look at the seat wasn't as bad as what I thought, and after a while it just grew on me, and I never took much notice of the seat. So overall, the seat, you know, it didn't play much in my mind at all. In actual fact, it wasn't a bad seat to sit on after I put a few kilometres on the bike, and never give it much more thought. So that was it. So the next one we'll talk about, the visuals are over now. So it is visually a nice looking bike, so there's no trouble there. Anyone that goes over and looks at the bike will be 100% happy with the bike. So there's no drama. So we'll get to the next one we'll try is we look at starter. Well, I've got to say I'm pretty impressed with the way this bike starts because, I come from a heritage of C5 and like I said earlier, I've owned quite a few of them. So, the C5 as far as the starter goes all right, but, with this bike you just go over, turn the ignition key on, the instruments do a sweep, press the button, the bike breaks into song, and I repeat, the bike breaks into song immediately. There's no cranking like you might get several cranks from a C5 or something like that, and then it decides it's going to kick over and do a rough idle and stuff like that. With this bike, there's no hesitation at all. You just press that starter button, no hesitation, no second crank. It's instant, mate. Just straight over, simple as that. Bang, you've got it. What's more amazing, it doesn't even think about settling into an erratic idle. And like I've started heaps of times now, and it scores that magic number first off. Every time you hit the button, it's just purring away, and it just runs like, in a way, it just runs like a Swiss watch. Maybe not something like a Rolex quality, but it does really run really nicely. You can get out there, press the button, it'll just break into song, idle away. So nicely, you got this no erratic idling out there where you got to grab that throttle to see. And I'm talking about from a cold starter. You don't have to get out there from a cold like on a C5, and you'll hit the throttle. You get there. You'll hit the starter mode and grab the throttle, and then grab it a couple of times and bring the idling up. That bike will just sit there, idle nicely, and you'll have no drama with it whatsoever. And Royal Enfield really got the ECU running nicely on this bike. It's a pleasure in that area. It's a really nice bike in that part. Now, if you look at the factory dual exhaust, they build out a bit of a note. Like they're not overpowering or anything like that, but they do. They have a bit of an effort at trying to make a bit of a note. Like, I was fairly happy with it. I think, if anything, what I like about the most when you're going along, if you're going along and you spin back down through the gears, I like the cam whistling and stuff like that the best out of the bike in standard form. So when you're going along and you drop back from, say, 5 down to 2 or something like that, or 6 down to 2 or something, and you're going back down through the gears and you hear the whistling from the motor, I think that's really more exciting, if anything, compared to the exhaust note. But I would say if you ran a good set of exhaust out the back or something like that, it would certainly belt along quite well in that regard. So I think you'd be very happy in that line too. So that's an option too if you want to jump up to a good set of sports exhausts. And I'm pretty sure in a matter of the next couple of months there'll be a good variety of exhausts out there at a reasonable price. So that's the option there too. I think next we'll talk about the riding experience on the Interceptor, and while I'm at it, I think earlier on I failed to mention the seat height. So the seat height on the Interceptor is roughly 31.5 inches. So it's a rather strange riding experience at first when you get up with the peg position layout. But once seated and you're directly on the bike, the pegs are right below your hips. So that takes a little bit of getting used to. But once you get into things like that, all's good. I actually think the hardest part to get used to with this bike is the location of the gear shifter. So once you get used to the odd angle there and the way you've got to point your toe in to the motor to get into the gear selector, it becomes second nature after a while and you don't have any trouble whatsoever. But apart from that, it's a no-brainer and you'll get used to it and there's no drama. The bike itself is unreal, and once you get out there, it'll you can go out from cold. You'll be able to pull away virtually from a cold start, unlike a C5 or any of the other Enfield, and with no hiccups or anything like that. You can just go out, give it a couple. You don't even have to give it a warm up really. Just go out, turn it on, jump on the bike, ride it off. No hiccups at all. Faultless fuel delivery system. no surging or any carrying on like craps associated like with C5, B5s or the old days of C5s. So it does everything what it's supposed to do, and it does it 100%. Like I ran the bike a bit over 100 miles or 160 kilometres and stop-start riding when I was doing camera work and stuff like that. And it started first time every time, drama-free, problem-free. And it's very hard to believe at times that, it really is hard to believe at times that I'm actually riding a Royal Enfield and a new release model at that, performed that well. No doubt, I really think that Royal Enfield has put a huge amount of dollars went into the fueling side of this bike, because it's just, you can't compare the fueling of this 650 Interceptor to the fueling side of a, like for example, my 018 C5 Classic. Although the fueling on the Classic, it might be an 018 plated bike, but in actual fact, that bike's been around now 10 years, so that's sort of, fueling system on that is 10 years old, I'd say, because although it's a Euro 4 bike and they did update it a year or two ago, but the fact is, it is an outdated bike. But, the Interceptor's a totally different bike, and, they did a really nice job, so anyone that jumps on one of those must be impressed. Let's take a look now at the slipper clutch. Well, what can I say about that? What a great feature on an Enfield. It's about time we had something like that on an Enfield. Well, as far as, let's have a look at the clutch pull. Well, it's a tad lighter, let's say that, than a C5 Classic. But man, can you chew through the gears with that thing? Well, take it from me, you bet you can. Plus, it's lightning fast on down changes. Like on a couple of occasions, I got out there on the highway, run the long cruise at say 60 mile an hour, top gear, came up to some really sharp corners out on that Cadia Road, on the Spring Hill Road. I remember a couple of the other roads there where I was sitting on 60 mile an hour, 100 kilometres an hour to try it out, and dropped from top gear down to second, like coming into sharp left-handers or coming into town limits, and you went from sixth right down to the second, and it just come down through the gears. You'd see the tacho, and this is the first bike with the factory tacho I've had on it compared to C5s. All you've got is your instrument. You've just got your speedo sitting in front of you, and that's all you've got. But you get to, as you drop down through the gears, you see the tacho blip up on gear changes, and that's something else you, after having so many C5s, another little bit of a novelty you get there to look at. But to come down through those gears that quick, I just see your tacho lift up through the gears and whir from the motor and stuff like that, and you can drop back down through them and then get down to second, whiz around the corner and go through it. And the equivalent to going down through the gears is virtually the opposite to going up the gears, up through the gears. It's just like running down through the gears like a hot and ice through butter. It's just that quick through the gears, drama-free, perfect for a learner, perfect for anyone. And, you might say to yourself, well, why couldn't they put this on bikes a few years ago? Well, you always have to look at why they didn't do this and why they didn't do that. But the fact is, they've got them there now, and that's the main thing. By the way, I thought I'd just mention too, if I would have tried something a bit silly like this on the Classic 500 and, dropped from fifth gear into second on a corner like that, I may have ended up in a ditch somewhere or something like that and experienced a real well lock-up. So but when you look at it, it is a credit to Enfield to bring out the slipper clutch on the 650 in that price range of 10 grand, because if you do a comparison between the Classic 500 and the Interceptor, only 1,000 separates them, and you jump up to for that $1,000, you jump up to a twin, you jump up to 650 cc's, you get your ABS, you get your slipper clutch, all the other sort of stuff that goes with it, and you get a really modern bikes. So, like, for $1,000 extra, you can't complain. And as far as that goes, and speaking of gearboxes, like, once again, on this Interceptor, like I did find that the gear, I never struck one false neutral so far on the bike. All the shifts on it have been very positive, short, quick, precise throws. In actual fact, there's no complaints at all on the box. Not like on, there's always a lot of problems with classic 500s, like you get missed shifts, false neutrals, you get trouble getting in and out of the gears. Anyone that watches this review and has got a classic 500 would have to watch this review and laugh when I talk about it, because, like, it doesn't matter, all 12 or more, whatever I've had of classic 500s, they've all been the same, like, you're going out along the road or something like that, and you'll come down to a corner, you'll go for a shift, miss it, something like that, and you're just sitting on the bike and you're laughing about it because that's what it does, or something like that. You don't get annoyed about it. The bike does it, and that's what it is. Or you go home and do a clutch adjustment and try to sort it out that way. But the Interceptor, no drama whatsoever. Everything it does in that gearbox is good. So, there's just nothing to fault on it. It's all hard to get out there and pick faults on the bike, which you can't fault. A few people have, I've seen a few reviews where a few people have complained about the seating on the bike, and in my opinion, I think the bench style seat is pretty good to park your carcass on. In fact, I'd say it's far better than what you'd park yourself on a classic 500, because that solar seat on a good run's pretty hard, and I've been on some good runs now on the Interceptor, and I think it's far superior to seat to sit on than the classic solo. But that's only my opinion there. So where some people complain, it's not the case. I remember a while back when I had a Kawasaki Verzi X300. Well, I only rode it something like, maybe, I think it was something like 30 kilometres or something like that, and that bike was brand new, and I brought it home, took the seat off it, and I remember cutting lifting the vinyl off the seat and butchering it to improve the ride by repacking it with a softer padding underneath. And that was a brand new bike too, and I tell you what, it was like a brick to ride on compared to this bike now. It's pretty good. So no, overall I got no complaints on the seat. The seat's good. I suppose while we're at it, we might as well discuss the handling. If you watched any of my videos, it would appear that the handling, it appears fine by me, but, then again, I don't ride the bike hard. Well, I haven't ridden the bike hard as yet. Like, I don't push the bike to the limit or anything like that. Like, I've been known to get into the four-wheelers and give them a bit of a workout. But, as a rule, I don't trust two-wheelers 100%, so I don't really get behind them. Saying that, though, it does appear that, the bike will get around the corners pretty quick. I think it'll get around the corners a lot quicker than, say, the C5, because I've been around some corners already and find that it'll jump around on bends a lot faster than the C5, and it seems a lot more planted and settled on rough roads and stuff like that. So I would say overall it appears to be a better handling than the C5, but I'd class myself not that good a rider to put it to the test. So I'm more of a rider that just likes to get out there and enjoy the ride. I'm not out there to see how quick I can get through the corners. So I'd leave that to someone else who can do a better job than me. Okay, now, so let's talk brakes. Now, both Enfields that I have ABS braking system, but the braking system on this Interceptor is far superior to the braking system on the classic 500. So this is by far the best. I don't know why, but for some reason it's just like that. So they're just extremely good. So they're nice on the touch with a good positive feel. Now, they're not spongy, and for some reason on my classic 500 they are spongy. Whether or not I've got an airlock in the brake system, I don't know. I may have to bleed it and just find out. But on this Interceptor, they're great. They've got nice bite, and overall they're great stoppers. So when you apply the brakes on them, they've got really good stopping power, and they can really bring you down quick. So in other words, they are really nice brakes. I've left this topic till last, so the main one or the topic is vibration. And I'd like to say it's got some and make some C5 owners happy. And that would probably make me happy too, but it's not the case. Like the vibration is very minimal. And when I say that on a scale of 1 to 10, like the scale of vibration on that bike would most likely be a 1, and it's really a poor one. So if there is a slight vibration, it's a very slight buzz on the bars, and I mean a very, very slight one. It's I'm no vibration expert, but I've had a lot of C5s, and I've sold a lot of C5s because the vibrations have been that bad that they've shook the bloody thing apart when I've been riding them and stuff like that, and I just couldn't handle it. And some of the C5s have been that bad that I've tried heavier bar end weights, I've tried foam grips with it, I've tried anti-vibration gloves, I've tried shot in the things, I've filled the bars with sand, I've tried all sorts of things to try to stop the vibration in the things, the vibration in the bars and stuff like that. But the first thing I noticed when I got on this Interceptor was how vibration free it was. And one example was when I was running a GoPro style camera along on the handlebars of the Interceptor on a very detailed type clamp mounting system on the handlebars, and how good the picture was when I come back to view it. And I also ran the same mounting system on the C5 handlebars and how shaky the image was, and that gives you an idea straight away the difference in vibration between both bikes. Now, there was nothing you could sort of do about it. Vibration on the C5s is a hit and miss affair. You either get a good one from the factory, and I think it all depends on how well they put the crank together. If they put the crank together and it's nice and true, you will get one with less vibration. If they do a really bad job putting the crank together when they assemble the motor, you'll get a really bad vibrator. And some of them are that bad that I've had that they will sort of shake you. Oh, they'll give you just like the James Bond shaken but not stirred sort of drinks he always preferred. But it really gets really bad on the C5, so you just got to either put up with it and live with it, and that's the way it goes. But the vibration on an Interceptor is virtually, like I'm going to be generous and just say it's probably got some there, but we'll class it 1 out of 10. So that's the best we could do with that bike, 1 out of 10. So I just think I'll close now on this rather lengthy review and just say that my overall impression is that I think this is the best bike that